In that time, our world has taken so many steps in the wrong direction. In the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization, dehumanization. In the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization. Technology, social organization, dehumanization. Technology, social organization.
Wow, it's Vincenzo Viceversa, the author of this great track. The video instead is made by my friend TelePandemia. It reminds me also of volume 6.66, which is still one of our best sellers. But of course,
he's a little bit dark, but he sees into the future.
Well, the video is dark because it represents what's happening around us. It contains many of the subjects I discuss in my books, including volume 9. Today, the Illuminati plan for World War III. This is a very special show. Unfortunately, World War III is unfolding as we talk, or as we speak.
As we speak.
That's better. That's better. So I'm Leo. She's Christy. We are the Zagamis, and we are back. We are back for the Leo Zagami show. Some people
you like us, and I like you back.
Some people don't like us.
Actually, I love you all.
So some people dislike my accent. They say, "Oh, you need subtitles." Well, as they say in England, bugger off. who cares? Whatever. If you dislike Leo Zagami, you can change channel. There is a variety of channels on all the platforms we broadcast from. We are broadcasting live at the moment on Facebook, on YouTube, and later in a few hours on band.video. And this, I repeat, is a very special show. So, Christy, let's thank our sponsors.
Of course, we still have our
Yeah, a dog.
Of course, we still have our
he's sleeping,
dog.
though. He's sleeping.
asleep.
He needs a little bit of sleep.
He's going to be 16 in April. So he's just wonderful, and he's so healthy. And you guys, he's great. So no worries.
Unique. Rambo is a unique dog.
So anyway, I have sponsors. So okay. So first of all, we had an anonymous sponsor. Thank you very much for your donation. It's very much appreciated, and we are very grateful. Thank you. And actually, we're grateful for all our sponsors.
In fact, we are preparing a special episode of Exploring the Illuminati for the coming Wednesday, for next Wednesday. We will be back with Exploring the Illuminati. For a special show, of course, one of a kind, like all the Exploring the Illuminati Occult series. Exploring the Occult Illuminati is something that we have done last year with a whole series for those
we survived.
We survived. But now on Wednesday, we will discuss Islam, the origins of Islam, its secret societies. It's going to be a very interesting and relevant episode for the times we are living indeed.
Absolutamente. Okay, so we have Anonymous, and then we have Bruce Kodish. Thank you, Bruce. And Malgarizada Minta. Thank you very much. And Corey Chavez and Dennis Balanos Henriquez. Thank you very much. And Kristen Ropp and Daniel Estes. Thank you very much. And also, obviously, you guys all didn't have the books because we sold so many books.
Thank you for those who purchased Volume 9, Volume 7, Volume 6, and even Christie's book, Confessions of an Illuminati Princess, Volume 1 and 2. With these books, you give us the possibility, you encourage us in putting together more shows for you. Last Saturday, we were not really very encouraged by the situation. In 1 week,
things changed.
Things changed. Our viewers have showed their appreciation. So,
we really appreciate it. So.
Absolutely. And if you want to...
I feel better about myself today. And then nobody insulted me last week, so...
Okay.
I'm getting used to it, though.
That's... What? The insults, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. I don't like when people are mean. I try to be nice all the time. Even if I don't like somebody, I try to be nice. But people are mean. They obviously don't like me, and I'm only trying.
I mean, you can't please everybody. That's
no, but nobody insulted me this week. So actually, it's been a couple weeks.
Especially on the band.video platform, maybe they're becoming a little bit more gentlemen.
Oh, okay, I take it back. No, I don't even look anymore, so I don't even know what they do.
I must say they didn't insult you last week.
Okay, well,
whatever. That's okay. That's okay.
I expect it. I mean, them, so whatever.
It depends. We have a variety of trolls that don't have anything better to do. But
okay, we're spending too much time on these idiots. So
yeah, let's focus on the news. Let's focus on the topic of today because there is a lot unfolding, and so we need to hurry up because in 90 minutes there's only so much you can do. We are with other 37 million people at risk at the moment for flooding from a blockbuster California rainstorm that is preparing to hit our state.
Yep.
And so
people Pineapple Express coming through. Woo-hoo!
Well, we will see what's going to happen. I mean,
it's a bit scary.
It's a bit scary, but
I hope you guys up there in the California land that's up, that you guys stay safe and everybody makes it through the storm. Pray hard.
It says here, winter storm warning, 37 million at risk for flooding from blockbuster California rainstorm. So now we don't only have the blockbuster movies from California, we have also blockbuster rainstorms. Let's see what happens, but fortunately we are at the second floor at least.
I know.
Okay. So Kate Middleton. Why I want to talk about Kate Middleton? Because This is news that wasn't given anywhere here in America. And it's not gossip, guys. This is a very serious matter. She was apparently in a coma and she risked her life. Buckingham Palace apparently didn't want to give this information to the press, but there was today a Italian magazine that picked up the news from Telecinco. Telecinco is a channel that was founded originally by Silvio Berlusconi. It's a very important Spanish TV channel. They gave this news, and apparently Kensington Palace, where they reside, it's in order, the public relations are trying to stop this news.
Is she still in a coma though?
No,
Okay, well, that's good.
apparently she's better, but she was in a coma and she was risking her life. That's Kate Middleton, and this information wasn't given. So we wanted.
Did you ever find out what caused it?
Well, we don't have a certainty on what caused this.
Or why she went to the hospital?
Well, it was given, there was an official problem at the abdomen that was given as a reason, but we don't know yet what kind of problem. The fact that now, and this Italian magazine and Telecinco are very serious sources, they're not just, so we wanted to give you this breaking news regarding Kate Middleton, the wife of Prince William, the future King of England. Now, we are in America, we are in the United States of America, where, as you know, there is an invasion currently at the border. We had in the last few hours also the truck drivers arriving in Texas. The situation apparently even pushed Dr. Phil at the border. So let's check out Dr. Phil.
Seized over 454 million lethal doses of fentanyl during this border mission. Governor Abbott has said that the federal government has broken the pact between the United States federal government and the states. Governor Abbott says President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is a humanitarian crisis unlike anything we've seen before, smashing records for illegal immigration by wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas border security infrastructure. Governor Abbott says President Biden has enticed tens of thousands of illegal immigrants away from 28 legal entry points along the Texas border and into the dangerous and deadly waters of the Rio Grande. According to the Department of Homeland Security, since President Biden took office, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed Texas' southern border in just 3 years. That's more than the population of 33 different states in this country. And what about our Vice President, Kamala Harris? Did you know she's our country's immigration czar? Guess how many times she's been to the border? Once.
Well, when you have Dr. Phil at the border, it must be really something else.
Is he on our side?
Well, you heard what he was obviously recording something for a TV station. Dr. Phil at the border. But you know that things are going out of control when even Dr. Phil is at the border. And like I said, the truck convoy that passed through California has arrived in Texas. And so, of course, we had reporting also already given on InfoWars. So we're not going to focus too much on it because it's a topic that Alex is already covering enough. But the arrival at Eagles Pass from this massive convoy was pretty impressive. Welcome to the Leo Zagami Show. This is our Saturday show with the Zagamis. Today is February the 3rd day
2024
of 2024. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why, you were afraid I was saying 2023? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get stuck in the old year for the whole month of January. I just can't. I have to recalibrate. But this was one of the images, and this is even more, let's say, intense image of the arrival of the truck drivers at the border. Now there is those who are already trying to say they might, there is a risk of things getting violent. Well, of course, the left likes to say that about the honest American truck drivers.
Where did they come from?
Well, they're coming from all over the United States.
And then they're going to California?
They have already been, I think, in San Diego, and they now arrived here in Texas. And of course, this is one of the main ports of entry, Eagles Pass, and it's something that we are seeing. And it's, of course, all about the politics of Joe Biden, but at the same time, there is also another, how can you say, they are kind of pushing the soul problem more and more in the eyes of the people. Even the left-wing media, the libtards, has finally understood that the Americans are fed up with this situation, and Joe Biden, of course, can't do anything but go on lying, and his lies nowadays don't seem to play in his favor, even with the black voters who on MSNBC, which is like saying the mouthpiece of the most leftist American. Well, even here we have the black voters unenthusiastic about re-electing Joe Biden. Here we have
a bit who are either voting for Donald Trump or considering it.
For sure. A lot of my friends are obviously my age, so we're a little younger. We've only voted once, for a president, and Trump is kind of all we know, and they're kind of Trump and Biden. They're like, well, we were broke with Biden, we weren't with Trump, and that's kind of the only thing that I'm hearing over and over again, is that, well, Trump, we had money. Well, okay.
That's it. So I mean, that's it. I think that Joe Biden can continue to lie as much as he wants, but he's never going to get back these black American votes. In fact, Snoop Doggy Dogg might soon endorse openly Donald J. Trump, as well as 50 Cent. So this is really like, I mean, the Democrats are losing pieces left, right, and center. I don't know if they want to continue with their pathetic theater, but apparently from the historic interview, it's not really an interview, how can you say, hot mic moment, yeah. James O'Keefe this week really brought us some great journalism when he managed to grasp these admissions. And one of the things that really I was pretty shocked to hear was how, first of all, they didn't recognize a guy who was, of course, the founder of Project Veritas, who is but he played very well the part of the homosexual, and he managed to get these people who work within the Biden administration at some level or the other to give him information. And he even brought them to the Louis Vuitton shop.
Let's see.
So you're pretty high up in the government.
Yeah, I'm fairly high up. I'm good at keeping secrets, and so I manage 2 federal agencies, the State Department and USAID.
So when you say it's like security, like you're protecting
the networks of the federal agencies.
You
give all your...
I think that this is really an incredible moment of great creative journalism, because to become an homosexual in order to get information and to do it so well. I mean, you have to admit that James Keefe makes the part.
Information to.
The mission is to protect information.
And we are like the president's voice when we go into
meetings
discussing
I could do it too.
Yeah, you could.
I could go to Washington and I could infiltrate the the queer.
You can go down Palm Springs Boulevard and act just like one of them because it's the aristocrat in you that has made this happen.
The nominee?
Yes.
Okay,
She will be the vice president. No.
James O'Keefe,
There was a debate about removing her from the ticket. Also, sadly, they did. She can't keep black staff.
Kamala, you see, Kamala, they need to keep her on because she's black. I mean, come on, man, this is a great. Charlie Krager, cybersecurity policy analyst and foreign affairs executive, who falls for James O'Keefe and his investigative journalism, creative investigative journalism in this case.
Quit on her in mass.
But with him, I know.
He got dementia. He was like, oh.
Got dementia.
Yeah, well, he's definitely slowing down.
Well, they know that he has those issues.
I think so.
But they're not willing to say
polling
it.
shows it. And,
they're not willing to say it
correct.
publicly.
And same thing
but
with
why
Kamala
not?
Harris. She's not popular, but you can't remove the first black lady to be vice president from the goddamn presidential ticket. Like, what kind of message are you going to send to, like, the African-American voter? How would you spin that? People would be like, what the fuck? Like she's a woman and she's multiracial. I think that they're really concerned about this.
But they won't say it. Well, I guess if they say it publicly,
correct.
That Biden they can't say it publicly.
No, they got to
toe
the line.
Do they say it privately? But they won't say it publicly.
Correct.
That Biden
And then there was another guy who is from the Biden administration. This guy actually works on Capitol Hill, and he was also going out with James O'Keefe and his creative journalism, pretending to be gay, attempt to pass them of some information. Titus Warren, though, was hard to corrupt. So in the end, he had to bring him to see some Louis Vuitton bags, because he likes the good life.
You're not a Trump fan, are you?
No. John don't need to die. John don't need to die. Huh? I said, well, then John don't need to go.
First he needed to die, then he needed to go. I mean, but this guy, I mean, of course, you can check the interview online, so we don't need to play it all here. But I think the most funny moment was, of course, in the Louis Vuitton place, because that this is really, I mean, James O'Keefe. Come on, man. You even brought him to a Louis Vuitton shop because he likes nice things. You know?
I don't.
But do you feel guilty, like you're helping the Republicans? You're like, dude, I just want that money so I can get the Louis Vuitton.
I don't.
You don't feel guilty?
No.
I went shopping with Titus at Burberry and David Yurman in Washington, D.C.'s Center Square. We looked at certain rings.
My new friend is looking for a little ring, and we're wondering the prices on these right here. He loves blue. Is his birthstone?
The blue.
And he's a hard-working member of Congress.
Okay.
So he deserves a little gift today.
I like a lot of things. I do.
You like a lot
of things?
Well, what about like this one? This one would look good on your arm.
Ladies and gentlemen, now check out James O'Keefe when he watches the camera.
What do you think? Titus told us again that the D.C. blackmail sex parties are not a conspiracy.
Oh, I was doing some reading about that online. As everyone says, though,
what
everyone says.
George Santos basically said is true. George Santos said that there is these places where all these people from the Congress go and have these orgies, and he was actually saying the truth.
That's just like a conspiracy theory, you know, but it's real. It happens. Wow.
It's not a conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy.
It most definitely happens.
That's crazy.
So today we wanted to introduce the show, of course, with a bit of news of what went on this week. We had a very important week, especially for those people who understand about the future of humanity after having read Volume 9 and what does it mean for humanity, transhumanism. Also, I started already to introduce this subject in Volume 6.66, and suddenly, guys, this was the week of the mark of the beast, because last Monday, the past Monday, Elon Musk tweeted that the first computer brain interface was installed in a human being. I think that in the future, in 10, 15, 50, 100 years from now, the month of January of the year of the Lord 2024 will be remembered for this specific act, which seems like just, one of the many events. We are thrown so much news every day that is almost impossible to cover everything. And when this important and relevant info comes in, people, yes, they talk about it, but I will invite all of you to go and watch the video from last week, where we talked about the rise of the AI religion, how also the established religions are using the AI and robotics, because the installing the first computer brain interface is basically the ultimate stage of the mark of the beast. So this is where it gets really serious, guys. Remember, that's why the Illuminati plan for World War III, which we will discuss today, is all part of what we have been discussing today. Even, the superficiality of what we have just seen in the DC swamp, of course, but also other things like the immigration that is destroying American society and the American dream. Now, we have seen, of course, the war that this guy who seemingly is in charge of the White House, Joe Biden, has brought to us. And in the last 24 hours, it got much more serious, because we had raids conducted not only with drones, but also with airplanes who are bombarding targets, have been bombing targets in Syria, in Iraq. Iraq, of course, is a place which has also American bases. This is the beginning of World War III. And why it's the beginning of World War III? There has been a lot of talk about World War III in the news in general, but the fact that this it's almost like they are announcing it, and I'm talking about the mainstream media here. So we are heading towards World War III, but there's almost like an announcement that is made by the media, like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" So it's not any longer a conspiracy theory of any kind. We're talking about a very serious reality. And of course, I'm going to show you some articles to confirm what we will be discussing today, because the plan, of course, started a long time ago. And we can go back to the Westphalia Treaty, which is being broken, but this we will talk about in a second. Are we heading for World War III? This is an article, for example, by Sky News, published on the 29th of January. Experts give their verdicts. The Defense Secretary, the British Defense Secretary, has warned we are moving to a pre-World War. Top military brass are talking about conscription and tensions in the Middle East. There's been a lot of talk about conscription in Great Britain, in Germany.
What's conscription?
Forcing young people to go and fight the war. So,
okay. Like a draft?
The draft. In English, it's called conscription, but the conscripts. But here, of course, you call it the draft. So, and this is basically what is happening. Even the Italian Minister of Defense, Crosetto, has talked about creating a draft force, and there is not been any obligatory military service in Italy since the 90s. So we are in a situation which is unprecedented. Always a few days ago, the Telegraph, which is another important British newspaper, here we go, and maybe Christy can read it for us. Here we go, Christy.
Where is it?
The title.
World War III is approaching fast, and too few are willing to admit why. The great danger is that failing autocracies will reason
that they have less to lose by starting a conflict. So they are already blaming China and Russia basically for the war that they are instigating themselves. This is the reality, sad reality. But not only the Telegraph, the fact that we are ready for World War III, it's even on the spikedonline.com, which titles, in fact, the title of this other article is like, are you ready? Are you ready? It's like, this is not a party. This is World War III. It's a disaster for the whole world, guys. And the fact that, are you ready for World War III? Our saber-rattling elites need to take a deep breath. Get ready, assorted generals, politicians, and officials think World War III is almost here. NATO higher-ups have been engaging in pumped-up war talk for a good while now. Britain's military and political establishment has been particularly excitable too. So, plenty of discussions on this topic, also in connection, of course, not only with what is happening in the Middle East, but also what is still happening in Ukraine, because Zelensky is not winning the war. But sadly, Zelensky is given another 50 billion to play around with from the European Union. And of course, he thanks, he thanks everybody, because this crook, it's like throwing money out of the window. But Zelensky thanks the European idiots who give him still this money.
On the financial instrument for us, for our people, for Ukraine. Ukraine facility with 50 billion euros for a 4-year period. This is a clear signal that Ukraine will withstand and that Europe will with.
But in the meantime, there is a lot of talk about the coup d'etat, about his main general wanting to overthrow the whole thing and stopping this war. So the Illuminati plan for World War III.
What are they going to go with the Russians if they stop it?
Well, I mean, there is some people who might be tempted to go with the Russians because let's remember how this whole thing started. I mean, it started, of course, a long time before Ukraine was probably even in existence, was still part of the Soviet Union. The Illuminati put their plan together, let's say in a specific way. They did put this plan during the Carter era with Zbigniew Brzezinski. He was the master of this game, and he actually dedicated a book to this game, this project with the CFR put together at the end of the 70s. And started to talk about in 1978. This project included the destruction and the end of Pan-Arabism. Now, Pan-Arabism, it's a concept that needs to be explained, because Pan-Islamism is not Pan-Arabism. Arab countries were trying to come together in a peaceful and harmonic way without all these religious tags, when of course, the fact that Iran and Saudi Arabia were mingling and getting too close to each other, and we like to remind people that, of course, Saudi Arabia, Wahhabi, one instead from a Sunni origin, one instead we have a Shiite fundamentalist approach in Iran. But the Shiite fundamentalist approach arrived only after the end of the Shah and Operation Pahlavi, which basically brought an end to the peaceful civilized country of Iran and his royal family, of course, with the Shah in charge. And then he brought this tag of Khomeini from France. But all this happened not only with the support of religious fanatics. That would be stupid to think that the religious fanatics, the Illuminati, are very clever in controlling all the factions. And we can say that Iran, that now is threatening the West, as well as we are threatening Iran, and the main cause for a situation that could definitely go out of control, well, Iran was a creation of let's say two important organizations that we should definitely discuss, mainly the Royal Institute of International Affairs, known as Chatham House. This is the main place based in London. The headquarters are based in London. They look very innocent. They have a nice British flag on the outside. And this is the place where they planned behind the scenes, together with the Tavistock Institute, because the Tavistock Institute, which I discuss profusely in Volume 8 of my Confessions, another book which I advise you to get, controls and works on the minds of the people. So when there was all these left-wing movements that sprang up at the end of the 60s, even in Iran, they, at one point, they also encouraged the birth of a secret police, a vicious secret police in the hands of the Shah that could have outraged the people more and more, like they outrage the people more and more, because of course when you create a secret police that is basically almost working like the Gestapo against any opposition, in the end they get more and more angry, no? So that was really created the base for Iran, today's Iran. Khomeini, the Ayatollah Khomeini himself, yeah, I think that people remember at the end of the 70s when at one point this guy came out of nowhere in France. He was actually exiliated in France, so he stayed in Paris, and every day you could see in his courtyard, and I remember myself, I was a little kid watching it on the Italian news. Today, Khomeini said this and that, and everybody, ooh, Khomeini said this and that. Ooh, who the heck is Khomeini?
I know. Well, that name stayed in my head. Is he gone now?
No, well, Khomeini died, but there is, of course, his successors that are in charge of Iran. And you see, the destabilization of the Middle East, we call it the Balkanization of the Middle East, because it's almost like the mess that happened also in the Balkans. The Balkanization of the Middle East, the creation of these conflicts happened gradually when, first of all, they installed this Iranian Shiite fundamentalist, but in reality, Islamo-communist reality. And then you had the destabilization of Egypt. You had the destabilization of Egypt, which happened also with the killing of one of their main representatives in 1981, the assassination of Anwar Sadat. That was another important moment because it gave yet more energy to the usual Muslim Brotherhood, which had been created by the British Freemasons and the Secret Services over a century ago. And then we had the destabilization of Iraq with, of course, Saddam Hussein, this progressive party that was basically not very religious, was eliminated together with Saddam Hussein, so all the fundamentalists could come in, and at that point give...
Because what was it like before? In the 70s, what was it like?
Everything was... Listen, in the 60s, in the 70s, people need to understand that, for example, the party that still rules in Syria, because then, you see, Iraq was destabilized. Every 10 years they destabilized, or every 20 years actually, because then the next destabilization was, of course, Syria. Syria was a very important moment, and we have given, let's remember, the Illuminati, they have worked their plan, and at the same time they award their main despicable characters. They gave Nobel Peace Prize to Henry Kissinger. They gave a Nobel Peace Prize to that warmonger of Barack Hussein Obama.
No,
if it
you
wasn't
were having
for
a bad day that day.
Okay,
you were cursing a lot.
If it wasn't for Barack Hussein Obama, we will not have all the problems we're having now in the Middle East, in Ukraine, everywhere else. because in Ukraine in
It's the
2014,
Antichrist.
the so-called revolution of dignity was created by the Illuminati, and I talk about this, of course, in volume 9 of my Confessions, which is a very important book. So if you have just purchased or you will purchase volume 9, remember there is a lot of information regarding the revolution of dignity, and of course the guy who created this so-called revolution of dignity, which was the head of the Dignity Order and of the Dignity Lodge, Giuliano Di Bernardo. Giuliano Di Bernardo is a famous Freemason. First of all, he was the Grand Master of the Grand Orient of Italy, and then later on he was Grand Master of the regular Grand Lodge of Italy, and ultimately the creator of the Academy of the Illuminati. So when we are saying here the plan of the Illuminati, we are not just talking about some kind of conspiracy theories and things that are unproven, that are completely demented. We have a bunch of them all over the internet. We are talking here about people like this guy, who is a real,
well, he looks it,
and he works for the Jesuits.
Look how evil
he was a professor working very closely with Jesuit professors in his University of Trento, very well known for his friendship with the Jesuits, still alive now, and still in charge of the Academy of the Illuminati. He was the head of Pier Giorgio Bassi.
That place we went?
Yes.
That I wrote about in this
yes,
book.
that's you wrote about in that book. Okay, so
I tried to escape out
moving
the window.
forward with,
I wanted to.
What's it?
I wanted to escape out the window.
I wanted to escape out the window, but you were waiting for me, though.
I know. I'm glad you came back.
I didn't want to leave you there. I was just going.
That was my first day with him in Italy, and he left me in the headquarters of the Illuminati all by myself for like 3 or 4 hours. I had just came off a jet lag plane. I was so tired, but I didn't want to miss anything, so I said I wanted to go, and I went. And gosh, I'm glad I got out of there in one piece.
Well, but they were very kind with you. They treated you very
really,
well.
Nobody. They just shut me in that room and went away, and then nobody came back. And there was a window, and it was raining outside, and I was thinking about jumping out of it. And then I would have jumped out of it for real. You didn't know me that well. I would have jumped out of that window and left.
Okay.
I didn't care. But anyway, he came back and everything, and then we lived happily ever after.
Okay, so Zbigniew Brzezinski. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, we are discussing things.
I know these clowns.
Well, you know,
I met some of these clowns.
You met some of these clowns. Pier Giorgio Bassi, of course, is in partnership with the Council for Inclusive Capitalism with Linda Rothschild in the Vatican. So they are all part of the Sabbatean Frankist mafia that works hand in hand with the Jesuits. Now, going back to what we were discussing with the present situation, you know, just yesterday in Paris, somebody from Mali attacked a few people, injured, killed. I mean, he did basically what terrorists do. But because it wasn't a moment they could necessitate a terrorist attack, they are now downplaying it as motivated by some kind of mental sickness. Now, we all know that Mali, which is it's a former French colony in Africa, has been in the hands of Al-Qaeda for the last few years. So the fact that there has been an attack in the race station in Paris, this is basically after the attack, and now they are downplaying it, though. And why they are downplaying it? Because, like I said, sometimes they need to accuse a terrorist. They need a terrorist. In any case, remember one thing, guys, that the terrorists are often arrested and freed until they do the terrorist attack. From that moment onwards, they are mind controlled to deliver the terrorist attack. They are at times blackmailed to deliver the terrorist attack. So who knows if this attack in some ways been triggered, because at the moment you had all these tensions in France, all the farmers and everything, they needed maybe some kind of... so this happened at the rail station in in Paris in the last 24 hours, and they blamed a citizen from Mali who is a terrorist. But the thing that really, guys, and this is a big news, last night the consulate, American consulate in Florence has been attacked by a terrorist from Jordan, and they're not giving any news about it here in America.
That's why you got to tune in here.
So people need to tune in here on the Leo Zagami show, because, I repeat, 2 Molotovs bombs have been detonated, as reported also by Alan News that we are showing, on the American consulate, and these are witnesses of what happened, very scared.
Circa le bombe incendiarie, onestamente non sapevo nulla prima di adesso.
They are very scared because 2 Molotov bombs were thrown against the American consulate. Why is it that I haven't heard one, and not only in the mainstream media, I'm talking about the alternative media. They are bombing the American consulate in Florence,
Italy.
In Italy. In Paris, there was a stabbing by a citizen from Mali. In Italy, instead, a Jordan citizen, always affiliated to extremist Muslim groups, had thrown 2 Molotov bombs, and nobody's talking about it. So terrorism is coming back, but they are trying not to talk about it. They are downplaying it. The Third World War, of course, is unfolding as we spoke, and the basis of this Third World War started a long time ago, as we are trying to explain. And one of the documents which really I wanted to show you regarded, because there is various organizations that have been always at the center of all these New World Order activities. One of the main ones here in America is called the RAND Corporation. Now, what is the RAND Corporation? RAND Corporation is an American non-profit global policy think tank, research institute, public sector consulting firm. And they are basically in the post-war period, immediately after World War II, they came into existence, they established themselves, and with the objective of investigating long range of future weapons.
Is this what you wrote about in one of your volumes?
Well, I mentioned the RAND Institute, volume 7 of my confession. Yes. And the RAND Institute, of course, has been always behind this never-ending war. Now, the end of Pan-Arabism was the moment in which but first of all, when I talked about Westphalia before, the Westphalia Treaty was the moment in which peace was actually reached for the first time, and for the first time we had the birth of sovereign states that were recognizing each other. And that was really to end the European wars of religion, especially the 30 Years' War. Now, the peace treaty of Westphalia was signed in October 1648. I think I have an image of it somewhere to show you the signing of this important historical document. But immediately after, a century after, these were, of course, the elite of the time who came together to recognize each other's sovereignty, and it gave birth to a new world order. From that moment, the international order changed. But the Illuminati that will come later on with Adam Weishaupt wanted to destroy gradually this world order, because what's happening at the moment in the last few decades is the gradual erosion of the recognition of the sovereign states. When states start to invade other states, you are not recognizing, of course, their sovereignty, like Russia invaded Ukraine simply because they believe, of course, that the Russian population should be protected in Donbass, and of course they took also Crimea. But in the Westphalia treaty, there was this thing of recognizing the sovereignty. Russia doesn't recognize the sovereignty of Ukraine simply because it didn't respect the sovereignty of Russia with the treaties that they had done earlier. Now, the fact that the Illuminati now want to destroy the Westphalia peace modality, let's say, is because they want to ultimately destroy all sovereignty so they can create a one world government. That is the ultimate plan. So the never-ending wars, and we had people like, for example, that were also initially for pan-Arabism, and then they were pushing more and more what will have become pan-Islamism. Now, one of the figures that a lot of people are there, we support Hamas, we support Gaza, we support Palestine, and all this BS. But guys, the roots of these organizations and these people, well, they talk for themselves. George Bush, this guy here, in particular, the wise man, this guy that was basically a Palestinian politician and physician who founded the Marxist-Leninist Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP. This is Marxist-Leninist. The Illuminati are communists, they are Leninists, they are Marxists, they are socialists. So if you embrace that modality, you inevitably are supporting this,
all those things.
All those things. So the people remember that when you support Gaza, I mean, we tend to say here that we don't want to take sides, but we also have to admit that certain things are completely outrageous.
Why does the left care so much about like why are they all of a sudden like so excited about Hamas and wanting to, you know, like,
because in the end,
I mean, what is the,
because,
I mean, it's not like, I don't understand.
Because there is, I mean,
we
for
had
example,
9/11.
When there was the,
I don't know, I'm from New York. So,
no, but
I mean, 9/11 lives through me. I mean, I had family members that were affected by that. So
yeah, but there is always been a alliance between the left-wing terrorists, even the atheists, and Islamic terrorism. This is part of the history of Islamic terrorism. I mean, both on the Sunni and on the Shiite side. When it comes down, for example, to Khomeini and his rise to power, behind Khomeini, there was a guy, a gentleman, who was called Ari Sharlati. Ari Sharlati was basically the ideologies of the movement of the revolution, but in reality was a member of the Institute of Policy Studies, another outlet of the Illuminati. The Illuminati plan to create basically as soon as the Sykes-Picot Agreement, you remember we talked about the Sykes-Picot Agreement in 1916 before the Balfour Declaration, and when we discussed all that. Now, the Illuminati knew that they were giving up France, England, was now giving up large chunks of land to countries that didn't even existed prior to that. So the Hashemites, whatever, were given Jordan, and they were given also Iraq, the Kingdom of Iraq. Then there was, they were giving pieces of land here and everywhere, so everybody will have their land. But then ultimately, they will always then create a backup plan with the fundamentalists lurking behind the corner, like in the case also of Egypt. When in 2013, you remember also the so-called Arab Spring revolutions. In that moment, I mean,
I remember you had a lot to say during that time.
I had a lot to say about it because it was.
But you weren't listening to them yet. You hadn't come out really yet, like on the different, like, you know, like broadly, you know, like
about what?
Like when you were doing shows and stuff.
Oh, well, I was doing shows in Italy though. With
I know, but you weren't doing them in America.
I was not doing them so much in America, but
and you didn't even do that many shows in Italy, really. You were
but I
mostly
did.
just on
But I was on
Stereo.
national TV, which was a big platform.
Yeah, well,
so
that was like a big thing.
So millions of people were following me there, and of course that was also talking about the Spring Revolution, Arab Spring Revolution. I talked before Snowden came out with all these revelations about how social networks were used by the CIA, the NSA to plan the Arab Spring revolutions and so on. But having said that, when we see, for example, the birth of Iran, we see that there were a bunch of communist, Marxist organizations that helped Khomeini in his rise to power, and then the Shiite fundamentalists. So don't be fooled by these so-called religious leaders of Shiite Islam. Guys, next Wednesday, I'm going to explain you why. Because we're going to go into the explanation of the roots of Shia Islam. But Shia Islam was born in Persia, mainly out of secret societies that decided immediately to infiltrate Islam and then, of course, exploit it and downplay it at some points, because there was a bunch of those secret societies that we're going to discuss on Wednesday. It's very important, so people understand how Muhammad himself might have had a good idea or maybe good intentions, but having said that, the first four righteous caliphs killed each other, and they were all family members or friends or companions of the prophet, and they all hated each other in the end. They all killed each other one after the other. So, I mean, the religion of peace is not there. I'm sorry to say, guys, we have to be honest about it. We study and then we deliver. And I studied, guys. I've been in the Middle East. I know what I'm talking about. So when we are going to discuss the Illuminati and Islam next Wednesday, you're going to discover a lot of things. But let's go on with the Illuminati plan for World War III, because this is a situation which needs to be understood, is unfolding right in front of our eyes. I mean, Syria was I mean, when they, suddenly they had to wage war against Syria, then McCain and his friends created ISIS with Hillary Clinton, and they basically they unleashed these thugs on the Middle East, killing everybody and anybody. This is terrible. These are all mercenaries of the New World Order. So I myself discussed many years ago Islam, because unfortunately I became not only acquainted, but I became somebody who married an Islamic woman and had to profess the Islamic faith for a little while, which was a complete farce. Of course, it wasn't the truth, but I was forced into doing it until I said, no, this is not possible. But also, if we have to study the origins of Islam, a lot of people don't know that one of the most important wives of Prophet Muhammad, his cousin was a Christian, and that there is a lot of links with the sects that wanted to manipulate and wage war like they did against the Jewish tribes that were, for example, in Medina. Having said all this, there will be those who will always continue saying, no, but Islam is a religion of peace. Okay, but from Islam, then we have also other groups that sprang out of, for example, the Fatimids. We have the Druzes. The Druze are very interesting, and we're going to be discussing them because they have a very particular history and also connections to a lodge, a mysterious lodge that existed in Cairo. And so, like I said, exploring the Illuminati, the occult side of the Illuminati, is not something we have ended last year. We want to continue, thanks to the donations that you can, of course, give us with GoFundMe or Cash App. You can find the links on leozagami.com, because at times the links are not given by by YouTube.
Wow.
I mean, you go on the description of the video and they seem to cut the links. But in any case, please support the show because we will
It makes a difference.
It makes a difference, and we will be bringing you new shows.
We can just do more, and we can be here, and we like to be here.
Absolutely. So please encourage us with your donations or with the purchase, of course.
Can I thank them again?
Books. Yes.
Okay. So thank you guys very much. Our anonymous donor and Bruce Kodish and Malgarizada Minta and Corey Chavez and Dennis Bolanos Enriquez, Kristen Ropp and Daniel Estes, and everybody who bought the book. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we continue, of course, talking about the end of Pan-Arabism, which Bernard Lewis talked about, and which this particular article that was published by the CFR magazine. Now, the Council of Foreign Relations is is a very important institution for the New World Order. So if you want to know more about the New World Order, you simply have to read their publications. Of course, they're so boring that most of us will never even think about. But this article from 1978 is particularly relevant because it talks about the end of Pan-Arabism. And the end of Pan-Arabism led, unfortunately, to the beginning of Pan-Islamism, which is much, much worse. So, please, Christy, can you read the end of Pan-Arabism?
We'll make it bigger.
I will try to make it as big as possible.
Well, then you're going to have to read it.
Because I don't know if I can make it bigger.
It's hard for me to read on the computer.
Yeah, like this, maybe?
Yeah, well,
Hey,
yeah.
okay.
Which part? The beginning?
You want a pair of glasses?
No, I'm fine. The beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Political ideas make their own realities, often in defiance of logic. They hold men and are in turn held by them, creating a world of their own image, only to play themselves out in the end, shackled by routine problems not foreseen by those who spun the myth, or living past their prime and ceasing to move people sufficiently, or political ideas turn to ashes and leave behind them in a trail of errors, suffering, and devastation. An idea that has dominated the political consciousness.
An idea that was that has dominated the political consciousness of modern Arabs is nearing its end.
If it's not already a thing of the past, it is the myth of Pan-Arabism, of the... Okay, you can read the rest.
The one Arab nation with an immortal mission. At the height of its power, Pan-Arabism could make regimes look small and petty, disembodied structure headed by selfish rulers who resisted the sweeping mission of Arabism and were sustained by outside powers that supposedly feared the one idea that could resurrect the classical golden age of the Arabs. As historian Bernard Lewis summed it up little more than a decade ago, allegiance to the state was tacit, even surreptitious, while Arab unity was the sole publicly acceptable objective of statesmen and ideologues alike. So from this, they went into Pan-Islamism. And like I said, they go from one thing to the next one, getting worse and worse. We saw with Syria what happened, with the creation of ISIS that, of course, was led into Syria, but also how Syria was depicted by the media, because the media are part of the brainwashing, the manipulation, the psyop, and the psyop around Syria was incredible. I mean, Syria was destabilized, and then you say, in Syria, war is woven into childhood.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy, who is basically a fan of ice creams, just like Joe Biden, but Joe Biden, fortunately, didn't see this little kid, otherwise probably would start sniffing him. But
the one in the back, he kind of looks like Nick.
Okay.
When he was little.
Another boy in Aleppo, Syria, says he's a fighter with the Suqor al-Sham rebel group and all this. Like I said, the war in Syria is basically a proxy war in the end between Russia and America. And this is very clear. If you know about the story of this war, you know that it's simply a proxy war between Russia and America. But we saw in the last few hours what has happened. 85 targets have been hit. This is only the beginning for the retaliation of 3 soldiers have been killed in Jordan, in Jordan territory, by Iran-backed drone attack.
It was really getting on my nerves all week when they kept saying, America's preparing to strike back. America's preparing to strike back. It's like, why we shouldn't say our battle plan. You don't tell the enemy you're preparing.
But this is a show. It's
but
all
that's
a show.
Stupid. I mean, anybody with a brain can see that.
But it's not like they have to surprise anybody, because on the other side they have a bunch of idiots who are simply paid for by Russia and China.
Stupid, all of it, and we're just sitting, and they're just trying to be.
Now let's go to the Dover Airport. Dover Airport is the place where Joe Biden arrived with Jill Biden for this ceremony. Now, this is an important scene, and I will explain my viewers why this is symbolic from the New World Order. This is not only about attending, of course, the troops, the US troops that have been killed, the service members that have been killed, sadly. And fortunately, Joe Biden didn't spend time watching his watch this time, because other times he was kind of not really interested. This time he at least pretended. We have also the Secretary there of Defense, just from his prostate troubles. In any case, US has attributed all this to Iranian-backed militant groups, but this ceremony was something more. Free as World War III. From my own information, there has been a lot more people killed in the last month in this situation. Actually, in the last couple of months, actually, since the beginning of the tensions, which started to rise after the attacks on October 7th. So why doing this now and then unleashing the strikes? Because this is the beginning of World War III. Dover, it was symbolic. It was all symbolic. What happened here was absolutely symbolic. And the president and First Lady Jill Biden met with the families of the free fallen soldiers. He makes a sad face. This is part of the show, and it's a sad show because, like we said, it's unveiling the Third World War. It's not a joke. And
we don't even know what war is about our generation, you know? We didn't have one really, and the one after, and the one after. So, I mean, there was the Iraq War. So we had the Iraq War.
Well, but the Iraq War was part of this destabilization that kept on creating more and more chaos in the region. Yeah. So then you can...
I guess there's always wars all the time.
But you can feed like this the military-industrial complex. You can, at that point, make money for the military-industrial complex. That's why everything that is happening, including the war in Iraq, was actually envisioned before it happened, because this book came out in 1996, 97. Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Grand Chessboard. This is an important book, guys, that people need to study. And it's a major work of Zbigniew Brzezinski, who graduated with a PhD from our university, became a professor of American foreign policy at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University, and then later on worked as the United States National Security Advisor from 1977 to 1981. That was the period in which a lot of the problems that we have today were generated. And let's think, for example, of Afghanistan. Let's think about Brzezinski apparently initiated Osama bin Laden and basically brought him into the fold, creating then later on Al-Qaeda, initially to fight the Soviets, but then it backfired, but actually it was part of the plan. and it was used for that mega ritual, which was 9/11. So the mega ritual of 9/11, but the basis was laid there by this. And in fact, he talked openly. I mean, Brzezinski was always at the Bilderberg Club. He was always at the World Economic Forum. He was always at the Club of Rome. He was a guy very much like Kissinger, involved in directing the global power and the geostrategy for the United States, especially for the Eurasian Balkans. He also had an important role, the geostrategy also in Central Asia, which means also creating something that at the time was supposed to weaken more and more the Soviet Union. But then the Soviet Union finished, ended. But still, they came back with more fundamentalists when, for example, Russia started to get back on his knees with get on his feet, sorry. On his feet, not on his knees.
Okay.
So
I didn't know which way you were going.
Okay. With Vladimir Putin in the 90s, at the end of the 90s, and that's when they unleashed a new bunch of Islamic terrorism in the Caucasus region. It's really absurd how it's like so fake. It's so fake.
Why don't they just? I mean, why put on this? If they just want to ruin us, why do they put on this whole show? I mean,
because
they have to
eliminate 3/4 of mankind.
Why don't they just do it then?
Well, they need some
What's
time.
stopping them? They're so evil. They don't care about God. Or do they really do fear God?
I think they don't fear God because they're a bunch of Satanists. But having said that, the war now that is being unleashed, it's a reality that is gonna go at a very fast pace. That's why I want to show how it started, but also I wanted to show you maybe how it's gonna end. This is
here just released by the U.S. Central Command, showing a B-1 bomber that took part in those U.S. retaliatory strikes. Now, the U.S. saying that it hit more than 85 targets in Iraq and Syria. And this morning, an Iraqi militia official appearing to downplay the U.S. strikes and hinting at an attempt to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East.
Yeah,
and then you hear that, oh, well, Iraq doesn't really want a war with America. I heard that on the news.
Iraq is actually not Iran. Let's not confuse. Remember, Iran is one thing, Iraq is the other. So
which one is the bad one?
They're not that great, both of them, because Iraq is supposed to be on our side. But,
okay, then I meant the other one.
Having said that, Iraq is not really on our side anymore when we start bombing them. In fact, this is what Iraq... The Iraqi, because let's go into the latest revelations.
Well, they're all screwed up there after that's the place we abandoned, right?
That's the place. No, we still have militaries there. We still have
which one is the one we abandoned
in
the summer?
That is Afghanistan. Afghanistan, which is, of course, another project that went from the Taliban, another creation of the Central Intelligence Agency with the support of the British intelligence as well as Al-Qaeda.
And there's probably Americans over there still.
Yeah, probably. This is the Sun, of course, US edition, ready to blow. Iraq warns Middle East is now on brink of the abyss after now it's not 16 actually. The count is almost 40 apparently between Iraq and Syria. In US revenge strikes on Iranian-backed militias. And here they show some of but there is actually on the brink of the abyss. That's what Iraq says, and Iraq is supposedly a ally. But then we have Iran that it's already, they are always there threatening. So nobody believes in the threats anymore because when a dog barks all the time, you tend to think that the dog, but it never bites you, but he barks, then it's just a dog that barks. So US strikes, though, test Iran's will to escalate. Is Iran going to escalate? It seems like Iran will escalate because the plan of the Illuminati is to escalate these never-ending wars. We have at the moment a series of wars. So let's go back to the amount of wars that we have and understand the unleashing of this World War III that is now really on the horizon, but is actually manifesting as we speak. Now, it's of course something that is gonna transform global finance, our way of life, beyond any recognition. This must be clear.
Say that again.
It will transform our way of life, our global finance. The beginning of the Third World War will be the doomsday clock, guys.
We don't understand
has
this.
been set last month in January to 90 seconds to midnight. That means that basically, and this was something that I mean, nobody believed it could happen, but it is happening. So what's going on here? The UK is talking about conscription, about drafting the people. We have more military spending than ever in every country. So it's obvious that we are in some, and then let's not forget, perhaps the oddest headline belongs to Newsweek, which wants us to start farming a superfood in case of nuclear war. So,
wait, what?
So
farming a superfood?
Yes, this is really what the Illuminati want. Ultimately, Bill Gates will produce your steak in a lab and everything else.
Out of a bug.
And then you have to eat Z-bugs, because Z-bugs usually survive even the nuclear Armageddon scenario. Overlooked superfood needs farming in case of World War III, say scientists. So it's something they are preparing for here. Italy initially, and I wrote about this in volume 9, no, they tried to oppose the lab-grown meat, the insects, flour, and all that. But now they're capitulating. Bill Gates went to Italy, and suddenly the week after they change and they start, actually they insert now insect flour in school menus that children can't refuse.
Where, in Italy?
In Italy.
You know, it's like the worst country.
I mean, this is outrageous, but that is what's happening. So
I didn't realize that, but
and let's not forget. Let's go back to the Middle East, because, of course, if you want to know more about insect witchcraft, this is the book. We are the only book that discusses what's happening with the Codex Alimentarius here. But going back to the Middle East, because it's very important that we go back to the Middle East and we understand why this is happening, why all this is happening. The idea that Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS operate with the international drug traffickers, have never-ending streams of money, and the intelligence services like the CIA, MI6, and Mossad can't stop them is completely ridiculous. This
are they just trying to drive everybody crazy, because everything is just so bad? And then I was talking to them the other day, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to be 2030. I think that it's too far out because things are so bad right now. I can't imagine us going for another 6 years. But you're always right. And he's like, yeah.
Patience.
It's going to be really bad.
Patience.
And it's not just going to be like, it might start quick, but it's going to go on and on and on. And we're going to, well, yeah.
Guys,
I'm not going to suffer because I have a lot of faith. So I just pray a lot.
Let's not forget when the Taliban joined Ronald Reagan in the White House. Just as though.
Oh, that Ronald! Why did he do it? Marilyn would be so upset.
Let's not forget these things, because it's like
I thought he was a good guy. I thought he was a good guy. I thought he was one of the good guys, but he's not. I found out none of them are good. They're all bad. That was terrible when I found that out, because I thought, I didn't have any idea that we had a corrupt government. So then I learned a lot.
We are definitely in front of a new world disorder, but also a new world order. Everything was when they launched all those Arab Springs, even, they fought people thought, okay, Morsi, for those who don't know, he was basically the Muslim Brotherhood that was in charge of Egypt. Morsi had to give up his position as president of Egypt because of the Arab Springs, and everybody thought, oh, wow, finally those fundamentalists of the Muslim Brotherhood have been cornered. It was a complete show. They were not cornered. They were simply going underground so they could spread. Because let's remember, there is also a connection, even if the Islamic Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood is Sunni, and they have a connection with Ali Shariti, with the Khomeini revolution in Iran, with the Shiites. So all the extremist groups, no matter what kind of religious ideology they have, they are interconnected because they're simply mercenaries. Guys, nobody really wants to be a terrorist. Terrorists are paid. Terrorists are paid and manipulated, and
by George Soros.
Soros is definitely one of the biggest financiers, but let's not forget also where the money went. You remember
Zelensky?
There was this book that years ago you made me read, the Hollywood Godfather of Gianni Russo. Gianni Russo confirms in this book that the money of the Shah of Iran, he was there to help the golden, the gold, how you say, the golden lingotti, the blocks of gold.
Golden bars.
Golden bars to go on the plane so they could be brought back in the Vatican. And this is testimonied by a member of Cosa Nostra, of the Italian mafia, of the Italian American mafia, which is Gianni Russo. He was there. He went to help the Shah bring out his gold bars and bring them to the Vatican. So, of course, he could guarantee his future in America. The Grand Lodge of Iran, of Freemasons, moved and is now resident here in California. So, the Grand Lodge of Iran is here in California.
For real?
Yeah, of course. But they are supposed to be the moderate ones, the ones that were kicked out of Iran after the suprematists, the fundamentalists took control of the situation. So this is also what happens. The manipulation that this, there is all kinds of alliances. I think that they didn't like the Shah, so they had to overthrow him. But also they didn't like the fact that there could be peace in the Middle East. France, England, America never wanted anything good for the Middle East. And at the same time, the fact that Islam is a religion which is easily triggered into fighting each other. Inner fights started right from the start of this religion. Immediately after the death of Prophet Muhammad, they started to fight. So that's how it is. So the fact that these inner fights meant that they could be easily controlled externally. That's what Licio Gelli always said. And I make this citation from Licio Gelli in volume 3 of my Confessions, when I said that basically the various factions could be controlled by the Knights Templar very easily when they were in charge of the Middle East, because the Shiites will fight the Sunni. And they, in fact, the Knights Templars, where did they put their base? In the city of Gaza, they had a big tower there, and then they had the headquarters in the Temple Mount, in the places where there is more tension in the whole area, so they could and control it. Then there is also a religious link, the Baphomet of the Knights Templars, but that is something we will discuss in Exploring the Illuminati on Wednesday.
Hopefully, because we don't know.
Well, hopefully, if we have the electricity and the possibility to go on the air, because
But if you don't see us, we'll be there as soon as possible.
Sooner or later, we will be there. So then you see, we had George W. Bush, George H. Bush creating Osama bin Laden, the family of bin Laden being in business with the Bushes, and then we have of course King Charles III. King Charles III, who is totally connected with the Saudi family, with all the various princes and the Saudi elite. Eh?
I believe it.
But I mean, the Bushes was something that maybe
I didn't realize I was brainwashed completely, and then I met you.
Yeah, the Bin Laden family back in the 70s, when they were peacefully in Sweden, they look all nice and freak. They look like they dress up like this is the Bin Laden family. I mean, they look like some kind of hippies.
What?
I mean,
where's the cave?
Osama is in the photo. Osama is in the photo.
Did they make him grow that beard?
Well, yeah, they were all hippies back then in Sweden. Imagine Swedish porn at its height, 1971. But that is, let's not forget that he came from a aristocratic royal background. Osama bin Laden. He was a millionaire, part of the various families that rule the Saudi Arabia. So I mean, it's insane. But the problem that we are having at the moment here is, of course, how this plan is going to unfold. So it's important to understand that at the moment there is at least 3 theaters of war that are manifesting. We have, of course, the Middle East. We have, of course, Ukraine, and we have also Myanmar. So we have 3, and this is only the beginning of the destabilization project that was put together when the CFR wanted also to understand more the influence, a question of American influence in the world. And now this influence is, of course, being rediscussed in a new world order that also is seeing the rise of BRICS. We have seen, for example, that Saudi Arabia has just joined BRICS. BRICS is all the nations that are with China and Russia. So Saudi Arabia, that for years have been always at the center of the American foreign policy, and this is an article that came out back in 1985, published by the Johns Hopkins University Press, always for the Council of Foreign Relations. So the Illuminati plans include also Taiwan next. This is another important thing that somebody here in the chat has said. Taiwan and the invasion of Taiwan is part of this Third World War scenario. That's for sure.
You've been saying that all along.
Absolutely. But I mean, it's the opening of all these war scenarios that will gradually destroy the world order as we know it and readdress it to ultimately become, at one point, a one-world government. Because once they have killed enough people, raised the power of cyber Satan through the ultimate development of the AI and robotics, the leftovers of human civilization, the leftovers, the meaning the people who survive all this, will be led to form the one-world government. Yeah.
So is that why all of the younger generation is so demented?
Of course.
Because they're the ones that are going to fight, and so it's not going to go very well. I mean, if you get a draft, you draft,
of course,
from 18 up.
Yes,
I mean that doesn't say that
well, of course,
all of us might not get drafted and go have to fight, but
well, messing up with their ideas, their ideology,
but
their
I'm just
sexuality.
Saying they don't even want to get off the couch out of the basement. So I mean, how are they going to go and do anything?
They will be
They're
forced.
not self-sufficient.
When they will have
they need their phone.
Okay, there is another thing that is very important here to address, and it's very important to address because this week. The British Ministry of Defense has announced that the nuclear plants will be protected by robots and drones.
Oh, that's just great.
So AI and his robots will be now taking care of the nuclear plants.
You all suck, so I'm going to blow you up. I mean, that's what they're going to do.
Or they will simply say, we have the electricity that basically that without it you can't go. That's why they're pushing the electric vehicle. So everything has to be linked to a grid. So then the AI cyber Satan will say, okay, you don't want to do the right thing. Well, you have that digital currency that is going to be disappearing. You're going to have your car immediately stopping. You're going to have basically your life ruined if you don't think like cyber Satan. So this is what is happening. And the World War III, I mean, like I said, in terms of war, we have the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, Gaza, civil war in Myanmar as well. ISIS also has returned with the terrorist attack in Iran. Let's not forget, because Iran is Shiite, ISIS works for the CIA, so ISIS attacked Iran on behalf of the CIA. I mean, this is completely idiotic. We have basically also the war between Pakistan. Pakistan also is kind of getting increasingly in tension with Iran, the terrorist attacks that because Iran took out targets in Pakistan, then Pakistan responded. So we have tension also in the area between Pakistan and Iran, because Pakistan is, of course, controlled by the British intelligence services and the American. Iran is with Russia, so it becomes another proxy war. The Third World War planned for that is unfolding in front of our eyes is mainly built for the same reasons that I explained very well in volume 7 of my confessions. I'm talking basically about diminishing the world population, and it's born in that Club of Rome environment, in that World Economic Forum Davos environment, born in 1970, 54 years ago. Then we have the Aspen Institute, the Bilderberg Club. These are the think tanks and institutions of the Illuminati where they are planning to eliminate part of the population because in the early 70s they got obsessed with overpopulation. The models that the AI was projecting was that by 2020 we will be too many on this planet, and we will start to eliminate them.
Pandemic comes.
Pandemic, wars, and everything else. So
now
this is another important book, volume 7, because from the occult roots of the Great Reset to the populist roots of the Great Reject, with this book you understand also a lot of things that are going on. So I hope that
wow, the show went quick. I just looked in this time.
Yes, the show went quick because I think the topic is also a very important topic. I mean, Zelensky has been warning Germany might walk into World War III if it doesn't supply him with missiles. So there is also, this his logic of military aid on cocaine, because probably he's on cocaine too. But it's bringing us closer and closer to a scenario that is unprecedented. So we have to pray, and we would like all of you to pray with us today for the future of mankind, because I'm sad to say that what is unfolding in front of our eyes it's been planned for a very long time, and it's going to be very difficult, if almost impossible, to stop. What you can do, though, is to side with God and to build a better future with your awareness, knowing that you might not survive this, but you might be able to at least
get good with God. That's the most
bury
important
the seed
thing.
for something in the future to grow in a civilization that will reject all this evil.
You need a very close relationship with God. You have to know that you're having a relationship with God, not something else. And God will never. I mean, there's so many things that God won't do, and He won't. God doesn't talk bad about people. God doesn't do these things. I mean, God doesn't tell you you're great all the time. He doesn't tell you anything. You won't hear anything. It's a feeling that you receive from God. That's how you know it's God.
And also for those people who say that I'm regarding Islam, my judgment might not be the right one. Well, I want to invite them to simply tune in on Wednesday. Open your eyes and ears and listen to what I have to say, the documents I will bring to light. And you will see that what I have to say, it's not debatable. It's pure facts, historic facts. I will bring you all the historic facts, starting from Prophet Muhammad and how he was delivered the Quran, to then the unleashing of his religion, from the Battle of the Camel to everything else, the Fatimids that pertain also to my own family history, as I am partly Sicilian. So we have to understand here that we will be discussing hard facts that are not debunkable or in any way, no?
Yeah.
That is very important. That's why tune in on Wednesday for exploring the Illuminati. This might be, of course, one of 2 episodes, because of the subject of Islam and secret societies, Freemasonry is very vast. It's not known to the majority of Muslims, so they will need to open their ears. Also because in the future, there will be also a book that I'm publishing which is gonna open maybe even more their eyes to the truth. And here, nobody wants to criticize anything. I want to simply put in front the facts, and then it will be you who decide. Yep. Because this is then I think the best way for getting the best result is not to be judgmental, but to ultimately make you decide and judge.
Well, with the facts, I mean, it's the facts. And then when you have the facts in front of you, you make your own judgment. God wants you to be smart. He doesn't want you to be an idiot. So
remember that what happens next, what happened next is probably terrible for mankind. But we need to be ready. We need to be ready. Absolutely. Rambo is ready. Is Rambo ready? Mm-hmm. Rambo is always ready. That's not right. He's called Rambo. That's why. So here we go, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors who have been kind enough to support us, especially because we needed to be helped last week. We were almost giving up. And instead, we are back and strong with the Leo Zagami Show.
Yeah, maybe.
Here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Shh, look out for the devil. Look out for the devil. Look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I. You're so afraid of old man Satan. Now, why don't you stop your hesitating? You're gonna be a long time dead, so the devil with the devil, says I. You're always giving me the dickens, telling me that life's no easy pickings. But just as long as I have fun, why the devil with the devil, says I. You can have your social tea.
On Wednesday, with exploring the Occult Illuminati, new episode.
Like to do, you stop me one by one. Now even if you make me stronger, that ain't gonna make me live no longer. So even if I go to shh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Look out for the devil, look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.